Empirical and molecular formulas. An empirical formula is kind of like the simplified version of a compound's molecular formula. Several molecules can have the same empirical formula. For example, glucose, whose formula is C6H12O6, and ribose, whose molecular formula is C5H10O5, both have the empirical formula CH2O, even though they are two completely different sugars. We get the empirical formula from the elemental composition of a compound. The elemental composition represents the mass percentage of each element present in a compound. The mass percentage allows us to determine the number of moles of each element found in the compound. Then we can use a ratio between the moles of each element to get our empirical formula. Here's an example. A compound is composed of 85.6% carbon and 14.4% hydrogen. What is its empirical formula? First, we need to change our values so we're working with masses and not percentages. To do this, we can just suppose that we are working with 100 grams of compound. In this question, if we have 100 grams of the compound, then we would have 85.6 grams of carbon and 14.4 grams of hydrogen. Now we need to find the number of moles of each element. To do this, we divide the mass of each element by its molar mass. So we divide 85.6 grams of carbon by 12.01 and 14.4 grams of hydrogen by 1.01, which gives us a ratio of 7.12 moles of carbon for 14.25 moles of hydrogen. However, we need a simple ratio. So what we do is we divide both numbers of moles by the smallest number of moles calculated, which was 7.12 in this case. After doing this, we get a ratio of 1 to 2. Our empirical formula is therefore CH2. At first glance, we might think that hydrogen is the substance there in the smallest quantity, but we have to pay attention. We compare the elements by moles and not masses. We need to divide the mass of each element by its molar mass to get the number of moles of each. To simplify the answer, let's suppose that the masses of C, N, O, and H are 12, 14, 16, and 1, respectively. We then divide the number by the smallest number of moles, which is 0.25 in this case. From the numbers we get as our answer, we can get the empirical formula CN4O2H8. To find the molecular formula from the empirical formula, we need to first find the mass of the compound formed by the empirical formula. We add the molar mass of each of the elements that make up the CN4O2H8, which gives a total of 108 grams per mole. We know that the compound of 324 grams per mole will have the same ratios between elements as the empirical formula. Because 324 grams per mole is triple 108 grams per mole, we multiply our empirical formula by 3, which gives us a compound with a mass of 324 grams per mole and a molecular formula of C3N12O6H24.